Hello friends, welcome to the TechBisoft. So today, the session which I'm recording for the Java 8 predefined functional interface. As we know that, right, Java 8 did a lot change in software development right. So they completely changes the programming, right. How do we were writing from the 1.7 onwards, right? But after 1.8, that is completely changed. So when we are talking about the Java 8 feature, right, so one things will come in our mind: functional interface, that I already covered in my last session. Okay, last lecture, last video. You can watch it if you did not watch it, right? What is a function interface? And functional interface attached directly with the Lambda expression, right? So today we are going to cover what are the predefined functional interface and how does they behave actually, right? So normally the next topic or the next session that I will record, that could be both the stream API, right? So in the stream API, we will implement or we will use this interface there directly. Function, predicate, by function, consumer and supplier. These are the five, I can say, like popular predefined function interface. So today we are going to understand how do they work, what are the method present inside it, how can we implement them, right? How do they work? So that all things we are going to cover in this particular session. So please watch it carefully. Definitely that will help you to improve your coding if you are a learner on the Java 8, right? So let me open one example here where I already covered some kind of examples already, right? So first we are going to cover predicates. So as we know that predicates is a predefined functional interface, right? So predicate, what does it do? So if you want to look it, right, please click on it, you will get the definition of it. Predicates. Predicate is take any type. So predicate is a one functional interface that could be any type. That could be predefined type, that could be user defined type. Predefined means I'm talking primitive type, and user defined means I'm talking non-primitive type. Like I can create predicates for integer type, I can create predicates for string type, I can create predicates for object type like employee type or something like that, right? So here it is having a one function interface which is having a method like test. So remember that predicate functional interface is having a test method. It is returning the boolean always. So whenever we will write some logics using the predicates, right, always remember that that is having a one method called test, and that is return the boolean value which will take one argument as well, right? So return true if the input argument match the predicates. Otherwise what does it do? It does return the false only. And here t is the input argument. So what is the type of input argument that we have to take care, right? So let's come to that and start from there. So predicate, first what I'm doing here, I'm writing one lambda expression, right? You can see here it is nothing like a lambda expression. If you are not know that, please watch my previous recording, previous lecture, where I have given that example of what is a lambda expression, how does it work, right? So here I am writing here predicates x arrow x greater than 0. So that's a lambda expression syntax only, right? So what I'm doing here I'm saying that x greater than 0. That means if x is greater than 0, please return true, and otherwise return false only. So that is a kind of definition of, so it is a lambda expression, right? Even I have given that definition as well. Lambda expression is nothing like a implementation of a functional interface. So implementation of functional interface means what? So we have predicate function interface here, right? And predicates is having a what? Predicates is having a like test method. So test is an abstract method, right? So we have to give an implementation of this test method. So here we are giving the implementation of the test method. So this is the implementation of the test method only, which does return the boolean value, either true or false. So here you can see here I am writing system.println, and here I am calling that p.test. What is the meaning of p.test? P is a predicate reference and test is a method of predicate. So we are passing here like suppose -10. What does it means? That means it is saying that p.test, please call the test method. So test method is a from predicate, right, which is not having any implementation. That means it is a empty body right now. There is no body on here, right? So it will directly call the lambda expression because we did we wrote the lambda expression here, right? So p.test -10. So this -10 will copy under the x only. So x will become -10. Then what happened, right? It is checking -10 is greater than 0 or less than 0. So -10 is less than 0, definitely, right? So what does it do? It will return me a false. So let me comment the previous one, I mean below code. And see like how does it behave. So this time I have only written the single logic, which is a predicates, and I'm thinking like, what does it return, right? So it, for me, it will return the false only, right? Let me run this once. So you can see here, if I will run this code, right, predicates, I'm getting the false here. Why? I'm passing here -10. So here you can see that predicates is one predefined function interface, right? Here true and false is what? It is nothing like a boolean only. So that boolean will return. So you can see here that it is a implementation of the test, right? So test is taking one input, which could be any type, and it is returning boolean value, right? So here itself I'm getting, or we can do one things as well here. We can store that somewhere, like boolean b equal to, and I can store them directly there. So that way you can understand that, okay, this predicates will having a test method, and test method does take one input and it is return the boolean value only. So here I will keep like b only. So then what happen, right? Here I will get what? True or false. So here I just given the implementation. If I will return here something like, if I will return here suppose a string, let's say if I will return here a string, then see what will happen. Let's say if I will return here true or false. So this time this true and false will be in the form of a string. You can see that it is started crying. It is saying that bad return type in Lambda expression, string cannot be converted to the boolean, because the default return values of the predicates test method is a boolean only. So that cannot be stored the strings. So that's why it is giving the error for me, right? So what we have to understand here, predicates is a one predefined functional interface which is having a test method that does take one input, that could be any type, but return value always will be the boolean. It cannot be any other things, right? So that's why we have written some kind of implementation here, but default implementation it is having, right? So here it could be any type depending on the logics. We will also look on it when we look the streams API, because in streams API predicates does play very important role, right? How does it work, that we will look there, but right now you have to understand what is the meaning of predicates. So predicates is having a one test method which is taking one input as an argument and returning a one boolean value. That is the main purpose to understand, to cover this, to understand the clear picture of predicates. So if I will run this code, right, I will get here false now. But if I will pass here suppose +10 instead of -10, right, see what will happen. So this time it is giving me like true only, right? Now let's understand the function as well. What does a function does? Function again one a predefined functional interface, right, which is having a method called apply. So apply is a one abstract method, right? It does take two things, t comma r. What is the t? T is the type of the input of the function, r is the type of the result of the function. That means what it is going to return, that is the return values r, and what is taking as input, that is a kind look like a t only, right? So here it is having a method like t, and r it is having a return value, and t is having a one input value. So that's why it is a generic, right? It could be any type. Again, it is a object type. So depending on the scenario, we will pass any type of objects, any type of value with this function, and we can return any type of value, any type of objects with the function, right? So same thing we are doing here. I took a function here. I took a string as a input value, and second string is a first one is what, look on it here, t and r, right? What is the t? Is the input of the function, r is a output, a result of the function, that means return value. So t will be behaving like an input value, r is behaving like a result of the function. So what is happening here? I am passing a string, that means it is taking strings as an input and it is returning a string as an output, as a result, as a return value. So function again is a one predefined functional interface, right, which does take one function called apply. So here I am giving this logic, right, in the form of Lambda expression. It is nothing like a implementation of this apply method, right? So apply method does take one argument. Here I am passing 100. So 100 will copy under this x only. So when I will write this system.println f.apply 100, right, it will internally call this particular lambda expression, where in the x it will having a 100 value and it will perform the arrow. So here it will having a x plus hello. So it will display me x plus hello, right? So you can see here I am displaying direct, or we can do that way as well. I can create one string variable that could be say like result here, and I can put this logic inside that only. So f.apply will be a one function which will take string as a parameter, because I took a string here. I can take any type of input here. It could be employee type, it could be any type of wrapper class, okay, integer, float, character, whatever we want. We can pass any type of objects here. So right now we are talking with the strings only, right? So that's why this result will store whatever it is returning. So it is returning x plus hello. That means inside the result I will get what could be the output here. If I will display result, if I will display the result, then output should be 100 hello. So it is adding hello with the value which we are passing. So 100 will be here as a string and plus hello will come like that only. So function will having a one method called apply, which does take one argument that could be any type and return any objects. That you have to understand that. So that is one interview questions as well. What is the difference between predicate and function? So you can see here predicates does return the boolean value only. I cannot pass here, I cannot return a string, but here it does return any type of values which we have defined here. You can see here I have defined only single things which is a input only, but here we are defining both input as well as return values. So this is the difference between predicate and function, right? Second, we have a like function called by function. That is also one of the predefined function interface. By function, right? What is a by function? By function again is a one predefined function interface which does take two input. See here it is taking two input and one result, one return values. So here t is the type of first argument function, u is a type of second argument function. So again it is a generic, it could be any type, right? We will take according to our scenarios or choice. So t and t comma u, these are the two input values and r is the result of it, right? Then what happened here? So we are passing two input x comma y, arrow x plus y, and what is the method we have here inside that? That method name is again apply, right? Same like apply we have in function, same apply we have in by function. Only the difference is that function is taking only one argument and apply by function is taking, by function apply is taking two argument. So that's why it is called by function, more than one argument, right? It could be any type. So first two things that we are defining here, that could be input values only, and last we are defining as a result, as a return values. So it is taking two things. So that's why we are calling here hello comma Vikrant. Let me do this that way as well. Let me call this to here, which could be a string type, like so here result is a string type only, right? So I will pass here a string, a string type of say values equal to, let me pass this here and let me pass the values here as a result, right? So what will happen here? Here we are calling the apply function bi.apply. Bi is nothing like a reference of by function. So by function.apply, here hello and Vikrant, that both will go in x and y. So x will having a hello and y is having a Vikrant, and here it is giving me the addition, I mean concatenation of hello and Vikrant. So here in the value I will get hello Vikrant, and then I will get the result like values which could be nothing like a hello Vikrant, right? So if I will run this, so first it is giving me that boolean, second it is giving me the function, third it is giving me the by function only. So by function is having a method called apply like a function, right? That is also difference between function and by function. The only difference is that function take one input and one argument, not input one argument. By function does take two argument. Method are the same in both of them only, right? Function and by function. The third method that we are going to cover of third function interface called consumer. So consumer is also one of the predefined function interface. So as the name suggests, consumer, it will consume something. Consume means it will take some input but will not return anything, right? So you can see here consumer is having a method called accept. which is returning the void, and it is taking one input as an argument. Input could be any type, but it does not return anything, right? Many methods which come under the streams, they do take consumer as a parameter. Many predefined methods in streams, they do take function as a parameter, predicates as a parameter, right? So we will understand one by one when do we cover the streams. But right now you have to understand that consumer is again a predefined functional interface which does take one input only but does not return any value. That's why I have written simply system.out.println here, right? I did not return anything here. So here it is taking consumer, which is taking one input, and it is not returning, it is simply performing the body here. Displaying the value here, right? So it is implementation of accept method only, right? Last one we have, last but not the least, here supplier. Supplier, again the name suggests it does supply the value, right? Supply means will return the value only. So you can understand here consumer look like a setter method, supplier look like a getter method, right? So consumer is having accept method. So consumer does take input but does not return any values, where supplier does not take any input but return the values like that, right? So here we are calling method called get, as.get, right? So as.get we are passing, and but we are not passing any input here. You can see here I'm passing the input here, but here we are not passing any input, and it is directly going to this method. So it is an implementation of the get method only, right? So here it is implementation of the get method. It will go to the get method and it will display like good morning, and good morning will be the string. So because I have given the string here, right? So that's why it is accept the string. It could be any other type as well. If I will give any other type, that will store under this strings, right? And here it will display that good morning like that. Or we can write this way as well. As.get is returning some value, right? Let me put that here like a string, say str equal to, and I can display here simply. So it is a method of s only, right? As.get, and here I can display like str. So what it will give me to me? It will give me like good morning. So that way we can get, right, all the result. This true is giving me that predicates, this is giving me a function, that is giving me by function, that is result giving me a consumer, that is giving by the supply. So that way predefined function interface work, which is a 5 only here, right? What is the name of that? Predicate first, right? Function, by function, supplier, and consumer, right? So that is all for today, guys. I just make a small video, a small lecture for this predefined function interface of the Java 8, right? If you have any question on it, you can put on the comments. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe it. Thank you so much. Take care.